Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tangmen based on novel. So let's start. Oh no! Electrolux's elderly voice rang out. All four powerful beings in Huiyuhao Spiritual Sea who were typically in deep slumber all woke up, and everyone started to panic. Don't panic everyone, let's think of solutions. Huiyuhao took a deep breath. He was extremely composed at this moment, and even though he didn't know what was going on, he immediately used his soul power to forcefully control the turbulent soul power within his body. He still didn't know how to resist the powerful gravitational force, but he could at least delay the hysterical absorption speed. The Ice Empress recovered after Huiyuhao's reminder, and she tried her best to close her seal within Huiyuhao's body. However, the suction force was simply too strong, to the point where the Ice Empress attempts to control it were futile. She was slowing the absorption speed, but there was no way she could close her seal. The vast origin energy of heaven and earth contained in the ice jade bed beneath him was being extracted rapidly, and it was getting faster. The golden pearl was spinning at such a speed that Huiyuhao really couldn't tolerate it anymore. He could see that his core was still swelling, and the vast energies being swallowed away were causing it to grow larger. Electrolux contemplated momentarily, then said, "I think I understand. Snow Lady, I will help you suppress it." The sealed origin power seems to have been ignited by the origin energy of heaven and earth contained in the frigid jade essence bed. "We're in big trouble now." "Ignited what?" the Snow Lady asked, confused. She was the Golden Pearl's owner, but she had no idea what was happening. Electrolux lowered his voice and said, "There is no question, both you and the Ice Empress are the most powerful ice-type soul beasts in the world, and your powers are very close to the upper limits of coldness. Once coldness reaches its upper limit, it's theoretically possible for a qualitative change to happen, and the ultimate ice will be converted into ultimate fire. The coldest energies will be converted into frightening, scorching energies." "What? How is that possible? I have never felt something like this before." Within Huiyuhao's turbulent spiritual sea, the Snow Lady looked at Electrolux with a face of disbelief. Electrolux laughed bitterly and said, "There's nothing I can do even though I know what's going on. Your strength is considered sufficiently powerful in this world, and when this power undergoes a transmutation, it are also compressed to the highest possible level. It is so intricate and compact that it can trigger the polar extremes. Because your reincarnation wasn't successful, and your body was damaged, you weren't able to control and compress your power. I used a special curse and borrowed Yuhao's spiritual power to seal your compressed power. When Yuhao can control this spiritual power by himself one day, then he will be able to absorb a little of your vast compressed power that's sealed away. Even though much will leak away, at least it won't trigger an explosion. Even I couldn't predict today's circumstance. I never expected that something else in this world shared the same origin power as you. The origin energy of heaven and earth contained within the jade essence is very similar to yours. Your control of the extremely compressed and sealed origin power has always been unstable because you left your consciousness. It was stimulated by the outer world's origin energy of heaven and earth, so it would naturally hope to absorb this immense power into itself. It began to react violently under such circumstances, and the polar extreme has occurred. It has become like a bomb, and it's rapidly swelling as it absorbs, so the extreme coldness is starting to transmute into the opposite extreme, and this power will expand even more. This explosion will have the terrifying power of a divine being, and both me and you guys will." The Sky Dream Iceworm was worried. He had racked his brains and done everything he could to merge with Huiyuhao, and had finally seen the light at the end of the tunnel. This sudden calamity stunned the lazy bug as he said, "Stop saying that, Elder Yi. You have to think of a solution. There must be a solution, right?" Electrolux forced a laugh and shook his head. "Would I still be waiting here if I had a solution? We're all in the same boat, and even though I am only left with part of my divine sense, I have recovered some memories with the aid of Yuhao's spiritual power. I am also unwilling to die if I can live. However, this bomb created from the conversion of one extremity to another is not something I can control, and neither is it something you guys can change. I have no solutions anymore, and all I can do is wait for death to come." Both the Snow Lady and the Sky Dream Iceworm's auras changed once Electrolux said those words. The Ice Empress was still trying her best to control the power flowing from her seal, but even she shuddered and nearly lost control of its vast strength. "I'm sorry, Snow Empress," the Ice Empress exclaimed. She could see that virtual light erupting with blinding brilliance, and ring after ring of azure green that looked like flames rose from her body. The power leaking out from the seal was temporarily held back, and Huiyuhao felt as if the snow pearl in his core was now spinning a little slower. Hui Yuhao's voice rekindled everyone's spirits. The Skydream Iceworm was the first to agree with his speech, and said, "Yes, we can't just keep waiting like this. Our fates are ours, and not determined by the heavens. We'll fight to the end. Elder Yi, you're at the highest level amongst us. I will release all of my spiritual origin for you to manipulate. If it's possible, you can erase my consciousness to obtain more power. All I wish is that you can help Ice Empress survive." The Skydream Iceworm's fleshy body trembled violently, and his frame swelled explosively. He became like a giant vessel drifting on Hui Yuhao's spiritual sea, as the golden circles on his body radiated and expanded outwards. Immense spiritual fluctuations instantly quieted Hui Yuhao's turbulent and torrential spiritual sea. The Ice Empress was still burning her origin power, and she stared at the Skydream Iceworm with her crystal yellow eyes. "Skydream, you," something that resembled a human appeared around the Skydream Iceworm's eyes. He said gently, "Don't say anything more, Ice Empress. The truth is that I have lived for more than 1,000,000 years, but if there's anything left in this world for me to love or to remember, it is you. When I was tortured by those brutes back in the Great Stardow Forest all those years ago, I thought about dying together with them many times. With the strength of my spiritual origin, I was able to greatly reduce their cultivation even if I didn't kill them. However, I didn't want to die just like that. I was thinking about you, and you have always been inside my heart. We are not from the same race, and our races can even be said to be natural enemies. However, I was deeply enchanted by your beautiful body when I first met you. Perhaps it's because I'm more intelligent than other iceworms, but I've never forgotten about you ever since that day. And then, finally, we were together. Even if you may not accept me, to feel your aura every day was my life's greatest fortune. Ever since I picked you up from the extreme north with Yuhao, I have been very happy, much happier than I was in the past 1,000,000 years of my life, and the reason was because I had you beside me. I can feel that you like the Snow Empress. Even though your genders are the same, your love has always been given to her. But I don't care, because I'm happy enough that I get to feel your existence every single day. Inside Yuhao's body, even if you may hate me, we can't be separated. Perhaps this may be the last thing I can say to you, and maybe we won't even succeed. However, I am even happier at this moment because I am able to offer you the last of my power and my consciousness. Ice Empress, please don't scold me when I utter my last sentence if you can help it. I love you. The Skydream Iceworm's voice echoed in Hui Yuhao's spiritual sea. But Electrolux, the Snow Lady, and Hui Yuhao didn't interrupt him even though it was at such a critical moment. Tears rolled from both Hui Yuhao and the Snow Lady's eyes. True love shows itself in a life-or-death situation. The Skydream Iceworm was willing to give up his life for the Ice Empress. His love for her was pure and devout. The Skydream Iceworm gazed at the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion after he finished speaking. When the Ice Empress didn't rebut him, his face revealed a comforted smile, and his size grew once again. The golden rings around his body detached from him and flew off. All 7 rings rapidly gathered in the air and flew close to Electrolux. The 7 golden rings formed a staff in the air, unleashing an indescribable and terrifying coercive spiritual force. It turned from dark gold to orange gold. Finally, it landed in Electrolux's hands. As he held onto the staff, filled with the Skydream Iceworm's spiritual origin, Electrolux's eyes also shone brightly. "All right, Skydream. No matter whether we survive or not, I won't ever call you a worm again. You are fit to be my partner, and my friend. Let's fight it out together. Ha ha ha, I haven't been so emotional in a long time. Let's get wild for once." The Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's gaze moved with the staff. As she looked at Electrolux, the blinding azure-green light on her body burned more intensely. There seemed to be something more to the look in her eyes compared to before. The reflection of the Snow Empress seemed to have disappeared entirely from her crystal yellow eyes. An unprecedented, gentle voice echoed in Hui Yuhao's spiritual sea. "Skydream, I'm willing to listen to what you said just now again if we survive. I won't even scold you. The relationships between soul beasts weren't nearly as complex as the relationships between humans, but they were equally as deep, if not more." Hui Yuhao's determined words, Skydream's noble sacrifice, the Ice Empress' change in feelings, the Snow Empress' deep affection, and Electrolux's intense passion, 5 different strengths from 5 different beings ignited at this moment. Boom! A wild and terrifying aura was unleashed from Hui Yuhao's body. The entire Clear Sky Castle shook as these 5 different strengths were unleashed. After they combined, a surging aura shot into the sky. Even though this aura didn't possess any destructive energy, all the Soul Masters below the level of a titled Dolor in Clear Sky Castle were dismayed by the aura. Their faces turned pale, and they fell weakly to the ground, unaware of what was happening. From afar, 5 auras of different colors were quickly rising above the clear sky castle. The 5 different auras, represented by Huiyuhao's whitish gold, the Skydream Iceworm's bright gold, the Snow Lady's white, the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's azure green, and Electrolux's gray. The 5 auras undulated tremendously in the air. Huiyuhao's aura was the smallest, but it was in the center surrounded by the other 4. The other auras exuded their might, and their terrifying strength soared further and further. The sea of clouds around Clear Sky Peak started to change intensely under the effect of these suppressive auras. They dispersed rapidly, and the sea of clouds started to expand. The middle-aged man in white and the short-haired middle-aged man, who were observing Huiyuhao, rushed out of the room immediately. However, they stopped suddenly after they did. The short-haired man was horrified and said, What force is this? How is this possible? How can he possess such overwhelming auras in his tiny body? The man in white pressed his shoulder. Don't panic. There are actually 4 different auras hidden within his body, and they are all very powerful. Something's not right. Why have the auras in his body become so wild? This is not good. They must be out of control, quickly. As he spoke, he lifted the short-haired man by the shoulder. He carried his burly body that was at least 200 pounds like he was lifting a blade of grass. He leapt off the 3rd floor, turning into a streak of light that landed on the 2nd floor in an instant. He stared at the room with Huiyuhao in it. They weren't the only ones here. At least 10 middle-aged or elderly men were with them in the hallway on the 2nd floor. However, none of them dared to get close to the room, Sect Master. All these people bowed and greeted the man in white. The most elderly-looking man said to the man in white, Sect Master, what's going on? Why is there such great undulations of energy in our Clear Sky sect? What auras are those? Why do I feel like there are a few transcendent soul beasts among us? The man in white's eyes flashed with green light. He replied, Elder Tang, evacuate the members of our sect along with a few of the elders. Ask them to flee as far as possible from Clear Sky Peak. Something's not right, but even we don't know what's going on yet. Sect Master, what about you and Second Sect Master? Elder Tang was curious. The man replied, Don't worry about us, don't you trust our abilities? We can only strut our stuff when all of you leave. Oh yes, bring Wang Dong with you too. He should be in his room, he can't handle this force, it's too strong, understood. The elders of the Clear Sky sect didn't hesitate any longer, and proceeded to carry out his instructions. Wang Dong was undoubtedly the most frantic among everyone in the Clear Sky sect. That was because he was the only one, apart from the Sect Master and Second Sect Master, who knew where the auras were coming from. What exactly happened? Why did you experience such frightening changes? Wang Dong was perplexed. He struggled to walk out of his room, but the suppressive force was too strong. He even unleashed his martial soul, and his soul ring started to flash, but he couldn't use any of his strength. This suppression was similar to the suppression that Huiyuhao had experienced from the Second Sect Master when he had first arrived at Clear Sky Castle. It was on a spiritual level. One couldn't resist it using soul power. No. I must take a look. Wang Dong roared furiously. He leaned on the wall beside him to prop himself up. He was very stubborn. On his forehead, the illusory projection of a golden trident subtly appeared and flashed with dim light. When the image of the golden trident appeared, the pressure on him dropped a little. He finally managed to rush out and bumped into the elders who hurried over. Grand Elder, what's going on? Wang Dong asked Elder Tang anxiously. Elder Tang was stunned that Wang Dong could leave the room with his own strength. We're also unsure. The Sect Master has instructed us to evacuate the members of the sect. He wants you to leave too. Come on, follow us. No, I'm not leaving. Something has happened to you, Hao? Wang Dong wanted to rush past them, but he was stopped by the Grand Elder. Elder Tang was very strong, and was also very familiar with Wang Dong. He knew how stubborn Wang Dong was even though he looked very mild. He struck Wang Dong's neck, he groaned, and collapsed in his arms. Elder Tang gestured and said, Everyone, quickly follow me. We must evacuate immediately. Elders, help the disciples who can't move. Very soon, the entire Clear Sky Castle was evacuated. A large number of people rushed out of the castle towards the bottom of the mountain peak. The fog that normally surrounded Clear Sky Peak had scattered due to the terrifying auras. This made it easier for everyone who was evacuating, as it was possible for them to see where they were escaping. Both the Clear Sky Sect Master and Second Sect Master furrowed their brows outside Hui Yuhao's room. The Second Sect Master snapped, "Is he trying to show us how strong he is? Are we the ones testing him, or is he the one testing us instead?" The Sect Master glared at him and said, "Why are you saying all this right now? We must enter. Although I'm unsure why he's released so many powerful, out-of-control auras, how can we account to Wang Dong if we don't help him settle this problem? Furthermore, the terrifying strength that he's unleashed won't just implicate Clear Sky Castle. I'm afraid Clear Sky Peak and the surrounding mountain peaks will all be doomed if things go wrong." The Second Sect Master nodded his head and replied, "Right. Even if we want to blow him apart, we can't do it here. Elder brother, let me do it." As he spoke, he had already taken a step forward and came in front of Hui Yuhao's room. He pressed against the door with his right hand, and a layer of intense yellow light surfaced on his palm. The door was turned to ash before it even managed to creak. However, the wall of ice didn't break apart like he'd expected. Slight cracks appeared on the surface of the wall, but nothing else happened after that. "What?" The Second Sect Master exclaimed softly, and then he wanted to strike with his fist. However, the Sect Master stopped him by grabbing his wrist. "Idiot. You can't disturb him like that at this point. What if you cause an explosion?" As he spoke, he had already pulled his brother away. His eyes shone with green light. He extended his own right hand as he shouted softly. Dark green scales instantly covered his right arm, but he didn't unleash his martial soul. The scales exuded an elegant glow, and his entire arm turned abnormally thick. An overwhelming might that wasn't inferior to Hui Yuhao's auras was released from his body. His fingertips turned into sharp claws, and he clawed at the wall of ice, which instantly turned green. His palm then formed a concave shape, then he retracted it, and the wall of ice was flung to one side. As the wall of ice was taken apart, the frightening aura behind it gushed out. The Sect Master was very impressive. Against the terrifying suppression that could even disperse the fog around Clear Sky Peak, his eyes brightened like two green suns. He managed to withstand the suppressive auras just like this. He let out a deep draconic roar. Fine green scales started to appear on his skin. When the suppressive auras attacked his body, it was pushed to both sides. It was like he was a sharp blade that cut it in two. The Sect Master's attention was immediately drawn to Hui Yuhao, sitting cross-legged on the frigid jade essence bed. Even though he was experienced and knowledgeable, he was still stunned when he saw Hui Yuhao. Hui Yuhao was naked, his body was covered by 5 different auras of 5 different colors. The area below his navel was the most brightly illuminated. Thick, golden light and an icy blue halo were flashing in an unstable manner. Hui Yuhao had a tormented look on his face. His backbone flashed with azure green light. A dark red soul ring spun around his body as it moved up and down rhythmically. His eyes were shut, but a vertical eye was open on his forehead. The vertical eye released a grayish-white light, and intense spiritual undulations. Using his immense spiritual power, he'd managed to control the complex auras that were being released from his body so far. The Sect Master strode into the room and came before Hui Yuhao as he split the suppressive auras. The Second Sect Master followed him in. He was under less pressure with the Sect Master in front of him. A dense layer of hair was now covering his body, making him seem like a gorilla. He was much tenser compared to the Sect Master. "Elder brother, what do we do? Do we bring him out?" "Snow Lady, I've thought things over carefully now. Since things have reached this stage, there's only one way that will ensure everyone's survival. However, you'll suffer the most in the entire process." The Snow Empress replied without any hesitation. "Tell me what it is. No matter what method you propose, I'm willing to go along with it if it can save Ice and Sky Dream. However, I need to know what you're planning to do." Electrolux nodded and said, "Of course I'm going to tell you. The Snow Pearl belongs to you and is the source of your origin energy. Although you shrunk it greatly and things are improving, we can't deny that you are the closest to its strength. Under such a circumstance, you have to be the one drawing it out from Hui Yuhao's body before we think of other ways." The Snow Empress revealed a weird glow in her eyes and nodded her head slightly. She replied, "I get it. Please give me a boost into the sky after I draw the snow pill out. I estimate that I'll need to be at least 3,000 meters away before the explosion won't have any impact on all of you. Please start now." Electrolux said, "No, you're misunderstanding. I'm not sacrificing you. Drawing the snow pearl out is only the first step. After that, I will tap into Sky Dreams, the Ice Empresses, Hui Yuhao's and my own strength to complete the refusion with the snow pearl." "Refusion?" With such a violent snow pearl? How is that possible? You'll kill us all. I'd rather die alone than drag all of you down with me. I was the one who caused the problem. Let me be the one to handle the consequences. The Snow Empress said decisively. As the third strongest among the 10 great savage beasts, her pride wouldn't allow her to implicate her partners at such a critical moment. Electrolux said in a deep voice, "No, we have to do this. I am 80% confident in succeeding. The remaining 20% is not the probability of failure, but," he paused for a moment. The Snow Empress was anxious as she said, "You're still being so mysterious at a time like this. Tell me quickly." "But what?" Electrolux said, "But losing your intelligence and memories, or rather only preserving part of your intelligence and memories." The Snow Empress was in a daze. She evidently hadn't expected such a result. She gazed deeply at the Ice Empress and said, "This is already a better result than death. However, I want you to promise that you're confident of pulling it off. Otherwise, I'd rather die when my snow pearl is drawn out." Electrolux said, "This is the only way. It's not that I want you to sacrifice yourself. I can't make you do so. After you leave Yu Hao's body, the snow pearl will blow apart immediately. That's why we need to reseal it immediately, along with your spiritual sense. Through some incantations and our combined strength, we can control the violent force and transform it." My confidence was initially less than 30%, but 2 strong individuals have appeared outside. I'm sure they'll help us. With their help, I'm much more confident. I doubt there's anyone more proficient than me in the field of souls. However, I can't guarantee absolute safety. Furthermore, you'll be in a lot of pain. More importantly, I don't know what you'll become even if we succeed, since this is the first time we've faced such a situation. The Snow Empress was furious. "Since it's the only way, why are you talking so much crap? If you delay any further, we'll all be dead." Electrolux said indifferently, "Since you've chosen to pass everything to me, you need to trust me unconditionally. I know when the best time will be. The more violent your snow pearl is, the more confusing its strength will be when it's drawn out. This confusion is the perfect opportunity for you to strike. That's why we have to wait. Be prepared, and follow the instructions of my divine sense." At this moment, Electrolux released an unprecedented suppressive force. The 5 gusts of aura were one now, and it wasn't a power of necromancy, filled with an aura of death. It was an extremely pure and holy aura of light. Electrolux turned flaming white in the spiritual sea. Intense golden fires started to burn on his body. He revealed a faint smile on his face. Electrolux's smile revealed a sense of holiness as he looked at the Ice Empress, then the staff in his hand, and then the Snow Empress. He thought to himself, "I really miss them. I didn't expect myself to be so indecisive. I hope that remnants of my divine sense still remain somewhere in some other world." Hu Yuhao's stomach was already 3 times bigger now, as if he were a pregnant woman in her 10th month. The intense pain made him feel as if his internal organs were burning. It was the aura of ultimate ice, but it released soul power undulations that were burning. His consciousness was already becoming more and more unclear as ultimate ice and ultimate fire intersected. In the room, the sect master and second sect master could sense that Hu Yuhao's aura was turning more and more violent. Just as they were starting to tense up in fear, a voice resonated in their heads, "If the 2 of you don't want to perish with us, you need to help us." An elderly-sounding voice jolted the 2 sect masters. Following this, a figure that was burning flaming white appeared in front of them. Electrolux's body exuded a concentrated aura of life. The burning light element flaring up stunned both elders. Electrolux said in a deep voice, "I know both of you are confused about my background. I can only tell you that I'm from another world. My divine sense managed to fuse with Hu Yuhao's body due to a chance encounter. I'm sure both of you are familiar with the words divine sense. I can sense the aura of divine sense from your bodies. Although they don't belong to you, I'm sure I'm not wrong. Both of you should be able to sense the aura of light from me. In that world, those who possess such a pure aura of light are called children of light. Only those with the purest hearts closest to the light element can possess it. In your world, you call it the ultimate light. I have no time to talk. Hu Yuhao is now in critical danger. A force that has been hidden in his body has been activated by the frigid jade essence bed, and it's about to blow. I'll use my strength to suppress this force and try to stabilize it again, but I'll need your assistance. Are you willing to help me? Electrolux sounded very sincere when he asked for their help. As the second sect master was hesitating, the sect master nodded his head resolutely. Okay, we'll help you. Second brother, let's prepare. Electrolux laughed. It seems like my gamble has paid off. Your righteousness will be an important reason why we'll survive. Gentlemen, please help me suppress this force. As he spoke, he pointed the golden staff forward. He chanted incantations repeatedly, and the staff then pointed directly to the area below Hui Yuhao's navel. A frantic aura suddenly appeared. The ice in the room instantly melted, and then the pool of water it had formed also evaporated. A scorching aura overwhelmed everything. A bead that was flashing golden red and icy blue made its way out of Hui Yuhao's body. When it appeared, rifts started to form on his stomach. However, he relaxed, and suddenly opened his eyes. Azure green light reappeared on Hui Yuhao's body. He clasped his hands and started to chant complex incantations. Blood-curdling screams sounded when the bead left his body. That was the voice of the Snow Empress. Small white figures subtly appeared around the bead, which was shining extremely brightly. However, the staff was pressed against it at this moment. Not only this, but two golden flares flew out from Electrolux's eyes and landed on the bead, which was filled with frightening strength. While the two golden flares seemed very small, the figures of the sect master and second sect master jerked when they appeared. They were both shocked. Azure green and dark brown light rose from the two sect masters. The sect master's soul rings were only slightly different from the second sect master. He had 6 black and 3 red soul rings. Different light projections also appeared behind the two sect masters. There was a huge green dragon behind the sect master. The dragon roared, and a greenish force rippled from him like water. This suppressed the force that was expanding outwards from the bead. A gigantic, illusory human figure appeared behind the second sect master. This figure's arms were especially long, and he was pounding his chest. Dark brown soul power rose with the sect master's aura and helped to repress the explosive force of the Snow Pearl. The Snow Empress screams stopped. At this moment, she seemed to understand something. Her petite figure was on the Snow Pearl, and she gazed deeply at Electrolux. She bent her waist and bowed to him respectfully. After that, she turned into a streak of flowing light and entered the Snow Pearl. While the forces inside the Snow Pearl were extremely violent, they could not be released while being suppressed by 3 strong beings. They could only flash between golden red and golden blue. The two sect masters were indeed very strong. When they teamed up, they completely suppressed the Snow Pearl and prevented it from blowing apart. Do we send it out? The sect master asked Electrolux. Part 1 end here.